G'day everyone, I'm James Orr, and today I'm here with Mario Zuppini, our Cyber Director over at Cyber Wyze. We're going to unpack the Essential 8 standard for you today. Let's dive in. Mario, thanks for joining us. Now, there's a lot of talk, a lot of conversation around the Essential 8. What does it mean? What does it mean for business? And practical approaches to getting into the standard itself. But to maybe take it back a little bit, to give a bit of perspective around what the standard is, where it's come from, and potentially how it compares to some of the other standards out there, could you sort of set the scene for us?
Sure. So the Essential 8 was born in 2017. It's a product of the ASD, which is the Australian Signals Directorate, and they're a division of the Australian Defence Force. So it's a government initiative that has been rolled out over the last 8 years or so now, and they upgrade or update it every 12 months.
Okay.
So we're currently in the November 2023 version of it, and the first and foremost thing to know about it is it's a control-based framework as compared to other well-known frameworks like NIST, ISO 27001, where they're risk-based.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. So when we think about risk, are we talking about how business might apply it and whether it is applicable and giving them a choice of where it fits in?
That's essentially it.
Okay.
So with a risk base, you can excuse your way out of having to adhere to any of the items that are required under that framework.
Okay.
So they're essentially optional.
Yep.
You can excuse your way out. With the Essential 8 framework, they're control-based. They need to be implemented. Mm-hmm. It is very binary. It's either is or it isn't.
Yep.
And to adhere to it, you need to have it implemented.
Okay, so to sort of, I guess, cushion how something like that can be quite binary, there's maturity levels baked into it. So there's 8 domains and there's controls associated with each of those 8 domains, but there's maturity levels across that board. So out of those 4 maturity levels, what do they sort of consist of and how does it scale?
Yeah, definitely. So it's definitely not a case of one size fits all, and that's where the maturity levels come into play. So we start with maturity level 0, and it goes up to 3, 1, 2, and 3. Level 3 is really for your critical infrastructure, defense, all those high international type of corporations that are dealing with a large number of different various sources.
Yep.
Your everyday business is really looking at maturity level 1 and 2.
Okay.
What we want to do, though, is essentially educate people on adhering to at least 0 and 1 to get some runs on the board, so to speak, to increase or elevate their security posture within the business.
Yep.
So what a lot of people have realized once you start talking to them about it, their assumption of their current security posture within their business is nowhere to where it physically actually is.
Yeah.
So,
which, like perception versus reality. So
yeah,
if we use the framework, it really helps create a common lens across which we can benchmark a business.
Yeah, that's
across
right.
Each of those domains.
Correct. So with the Essential 8, it's 8 mitigation strategies or domains. Essentially, what a lot of people would consider common sense, but it's a fact that you need to have them listed out to physically address them.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden you're ticking boxes and your security posture is increased dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of technical experts even will overlook a lot of the items that are included there. So to go over those, you've got 8 mitigation strategies: patching applications, patching operating systems, restricting admin privileges, user application control, application hardening. We want to restrict Microsoft Office macros, regular backups, and that's the 8.
Multi-factor,
the big one of the moment. And this is a key one that a lot of people, including myself, where you've implemented it and people can get confused between 2FA and MFA.
Yes.
And to what levels. We might unpack that a bit more in another video because it is such an important topic for its own video. And I say that for a reason being where if you consider us here in Australia at the moment, MFA is mentioned everywhere, but even some of our top tier banks don't implement it for their own login.
Customer logons. Yeah.
So for something that's so important. But yes, we will definitely address that in more detail, but that is a very important one as well.
But it does speak to an important consideration in this, is that because cybersecurity is a journey, not something that you just switch on and it's not a tick and flick exercise, that in context of the Essential 8, the maturity levels, they give you a pathway.
That's right.
More than anything else. So it's guidance, so that across the standard we've got these 8 domains that we need to consider. Then we've got 4 maturity levels.
Yep.
And you can mix those maturity levels in terms of right sizing the security for your business. But in order to attain any one of those maturity levels and sort of, certify, for lack of a better word, how does that actually work with the Essential 8 model?
So with that, if you are targeting a maturity level 2, you need to hit maturity level 2 at every single one of those 8 mitigation strategies.
Right.
So if you hit 1 for regular backups, but you've hit a 2 for everything else, your overall posture is a maturity level 1.
Okay.
That's where you sit.
Now a business could consider that a win if that's the right strategy for them.
Correct. Yep.
But if they want to hit maturity level 2, or they have a reason to, commercial, or it's part of their continuous improvement program, every single one of those domains and every single component of the maturity level for 2 in that example would need to be met.
Correct.
Okay.
That's exactly right. So there's no wiggle room, so to speak. Whereas with your risk-based frameworks, you could excuse yourself out of going, oh, well, we can only do it this because of ABC reasoning. With the Essential 8 maturity levels, it has to be implemented.
Okay. And the thing that often gets overlooked is that, and we do these at Cyber Wyze, which is security assessments, but they're a point in time exercise.
Correct.
So a business can hit, any one maturity level it might be targeting, potentially for that day or in that timeline that they're doing it. Where does the rubber really hit the road on this? Because for you to maintain an ML2, for example, what sort of things, sort of stand out to you that would, determine a business that's met the standard at a point in time versus one that's maintaining the standard?
That's a really good question, actually. So it essentially will come down to education and changes from the top of the business down. A lot of concern with cybersecurity implementation to businesses is always ROI. Where's that return we're getting? All businesses, things are tight at the moment. Nobody wants to put money out there for something to do it. You have to look at any cybersecurity implementation as what we call like return on concrete. You're setting a new path and foundation for the business to go along.
Yep.
So that is a solid foundation for the business to pursue and continue on. And that's where everything will start going. So once you've implemented these in, it's not a case of, yep, we've done it today, we can tick a box, got a bit of paper now. You are now going to follow those procedures, continuously on. And it'll increase the security posture of your business. And then it has a follow-on effect with everything else around you as well, because suddenly other businesses you're working with, you will adhere, you want them to do the exact same sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So it really becomes cultural.
Yeah.
So it needs to be adopted in the business on a daily basis in order for it to stick. And I think that's probably, a good way of, rounding this out is that, while a framework or a standard, is something to meet and you can be, assessed against, the success of a security program or the success of maintaining the security that's associated with meeting that benchmark only is fully realised if it's continually adopted in a business day-to-day.
Correct. That's exactly right. So it's like a chain. The chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Yeah.
You really need to have all of that looked after correctly. And it's an education piece. It's a journey. I'm not a big fan of that word, but once you start adopting these items, it becomes second nature, and it's just part of business process. They're not difficult to implement.
Yeah.
They're not out of the reach of a lot of people. A lot of places have technical knowledge in-house now that can do this, and it needs to be part of ongoing business.
Yeah. So it seems the message then ultimately is that while you can aspire to meet a certain level of the framework, or you may set your own particular targeted outcome for achieving compliance with the framework.
Correct.
You've got to just hit that right mix of what's right for your business so that security can coexist. And that's, not just E8, but any framework that you're aiming to adopt.
Correct.
It's got to coexist, but in order for it to continue to live and breathe and be effective, it's got to have sponsorship in the business, and so it's got to exist on a daily basis.
That's exactly right. So you don't want to stifle your business productivity and everything by implementing all these restrictions and controls. Doing that, it'll be a failure. People will not adopt it. With the Essential 8 controls, they're important. I don't want to say minor, but they will help you increase your security posture while not impeding your business productivity and everything.
Yeah.
So it is definitely an education piece, and it will help strengthen your business, as well as a lot of businesses use it as a feather in your cap. Then you can start talking to your suppliers and vendors going, listen, we're adhering to our requirements here. We can be a trusted partner with data and whatnot.
Yeah. So it's a practical standard.
Correct.
Yeah. That's designed to coexist with business.
Yes, definitely.
No, brilliant. Mario, thanks for sharing today, mate, and helping us unpack it. If you got value out of this, subscribe and continue watching us. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you soon. Cheers.